Like and subscribe and you'll have amazing luck for the rest of the week. Theme parks are fun places to be in, but when the crowds are gone, the lights are off, and the rot and decay can set in, they turn into places scarier than even the most haunted of houses. Number 10. Six Flags New Orleans. During the rampage of Hurricane Katrina, Six Flags New Orleans was all but destroyed. Since the park was located in a low-lying section of New Orleans, more than 20 feet of floodwater engulfed the entire park. This resulted in complete devastation once the water levels dissipated. It took nearly an entire month for the water to leave the park itself, and due to the extensive level of damage from the floodwaters and wind, the park was closed indefinitely, despite announcements throughout the next couple of years that it would remain closed until further notice. Now abandoned though, the site is reportedly haunted. This is pretty weird though, because there's been no reported casualties in the premises during Katrina, and only one death was reported to have happened inside the park itself, and that happened way back in 1993. However, there are sounds of children laughing and phantom sounds of all the various rides still going that are reported throughout the park. In its abandoned state, it still does attract a crowd, albeit a different one. Once the destinations of thrill seekers is now a prime destination for lovers of the paranormal. Number 9. Kings Island, Ohio. According to visitors, Kings Island Amusement Park is called home by an alarming number of ghosts. The most popular of these specters is that of a little girl in a blue dress, known as either Missouri Jane or the Tram Girl. People see her at the International Restaurant and Whitewater Canyon ride. It's believed that this little girl passed the 1800s and was buried on the island cemetery. Visitors also claim to see a male child in a white suit near the racetracks when the sun goes down. Named the Racer Boy, this ghost is allegedly the spirit of a child found in a dip on the Shooting Star track at Coney Island. This supposedly occurred before several of the ride's cars were relocated to Kings Island. Finally, John Harder, known as Tower Johnny, also haunts the park. He's said to be the spirit of a young man who fell in 1983 while climbing the Eiffel Tower at the park's entrance. Number 8. Spree Park, Berlin. Southeastern Berlin's Spree Park has been abandoned since 2002, and it sure looks that way. Each part of the park is scattered with remnants of decades past, making a jumble of bizarre entertainment, children's rides, and even life-size dinosaur statues. Originally constructed by the socialist government of East Germany in '69, it stood until the fall of the Berlin Wall 20 years later. It attracted around 1.7 million visitors annually during its heyday. And then in 1991, controversial amusement park operator Norbert Witt took to running the place, renaming it Spree Park. However, Witt was involved in smuggling cocaine, concealing it in pieces of ride equipment shipped between Peru and Germany during his time as a park administrator. Due partly to his criminal activities and due partly to lackluster visitor numbers, Spree Park was shut down to the public in 2002 and Witt was tried on smuggling charges 2 years later. Number 7. Bongoland, Florida. Even before Bongoland was a theme park, the plot of land where it stood already had an intriguing history. The land itself was originally purchased by Patrick Dean with the intention of growing cotton, rice, and sugarcane. When he died during the First Seminole War in 1818, the plantation passed through several hands. Then in the 40s, some of the land was leased to Dr. Perry Sperber. He was a dermatologist by trade, but had a keen interest in dinosaurs. He wanted to revive the place and turn it into a dinosaur theme park, and so he did. Sperber enlisted the help of an artist to create life-size dinosaurs out of chicken wire and concrete, which towered over the few tourists who managed to trickle through. The park also included a recreated Seminole village, the historic sugar mill ruins, and live animals, including a namesake baboon. A miniature train was also there, transporting tourists to the various attractions. The mismatch of attractions failed to draw in a crowd, though. In 1952, just 5 years after it opened, Bongoland closed and is now only called home by the many spirits who live there. Number 6. Nara Dreamland, Japan. Nara Dreamland was supposed to be Japan's answer to California's Disneyland. That was, of course, prior to the opening of Tokyo Disneyland. Opened in 1961, it never had the staying power of Disneyland, though. In 2006, it only attracted around 400,000 visitors, causing the park to turn off its lights for good. Since then, the park has become overrun with rust and nature, rendering it unsalvageable, but it still remains largely intact. Although admittedly, the once smiling statues of various fairy tale characters look creepier now in their weathered states. While the park still seems to be powered by electricity, bringing back this once thriving fantasyland will certainly cost a pretty penny. Thus, the fate of the park remains uncertain. Guards still regularly patrol the grounds, finding trespassers, but there are no plans to fully demolish this park. Until its future is decided, it remains a decaying vision of misplaced American dreams. Number 5. Dotty Park, Belgium. Although it did have humble beginnings as a church playground for the children of the Basilica of Our Lady of Dodezel, Dotty Park later became Belgium's first private amusement park. Originally built in 1950, the old playground gave way to amusement rides and opened to tourists in 1980. For a time, the park was a huge success, entertaining 1 million visitors during its peak years, and for a time containing what was, at 800 meters, the longest monkey bridge in Europe. However, things took a turn for the worse as maintenance wasn't a key priority, and the rundown rides soon became more and more hazardous. Then in 2002, a boy lost his arm while enjoying the Nautic Jet ride. And because of this incident, the park closed down, initially for renovations, but was simply abandoned and never opened again. Today, not much is left of the abandoned park other than ruined equipment and a chilling atmosphere. Plans are reportedly underway to transform the park into a new recreation area, but that remains to be seen. Number 4. Yongma-land, South Korea. There's this little-known abandoned theme park in South Korea, which is now home to a carousel that has since fallen into disrepair. You also have 80s pop icons and bumper cars that have long since stopped moving. But unlike most abandoned amusement parks, this one still invites the public to witness its slow but inevitable destruction. Built in 1980, Yongma-land had a fairly solid run as a small, family-oriented amusement park. By 2011, attendance had dwindled enough to force the park to close down. It's long been rumored to be extremely haunted, but that hasn't stopped one enterprising businessman from making a buck or two from it. Yongma-land has since been reopened, but maintains its current pitiful state. For $5 measly bucks, visitors are free to roam the old rides, no fence jumping needed. And for $25, the owner will turn on the lights of the ghostly merry-go-round for you after 8 p.m. Number 3. Taman Festival, Indonesia. Taman Festival in Indonesia is a true urban explorer's dream. This eerie abandoned theme park has been overrun with lush greenery, and its crumbling ruins adorned with graffiti. Most of the park has succumbed to nature's mercy and is slowly being swallowed by the jungle. No one actually knows why this theme park was abandoned, though. In fact, it never even opened to the public. Some reports say the owners abandoned ship after fearing it would become unprofitable following the 2002 Bali terrorist attacks. Others say lightning struck its laser machines, which were meant to illuminate the night sky as part of the park's star attraction. It's since become a home for graffiti artists and budding photographers, though. Walking through this derelict theme park truly is a haunting experience. Vines and weeds twist sinisterly around the decrepit structures, while miniature jungles overtake others. Bats, enormous spiders, and a host of other insects call the dust-covered buildings home. Also, keep an eye out for the empty crocodile pit. Story has it that its former residents were left to roam freely in the park after it was abandoned. Number 2. Atlantis Marine Park, Australia. Atlantis Marine Park was constructed in 1981 in a little town called Two Rocks, hoping that the boom time of nearby Perth would attract tourism to the small town. It features a 10-meter tall Neptune holding his trident, which was built by local artist Marc-Lee Bousset, along with numerous pools and many other strange sculptures, most of which are ocean-themed, including the disembodied head of Jacques Cousteau. The park was to be the first step in turning the area into a premier leisure and recreation region and would feature performing bottlenose dolphins as their main attraction. The park didn't prove to be the cash cow its creators had hoped, though, and as the 80s neared its end, the park was losing money. Aside from this, though, regulations for dolphin enclosures had changed and legislation required the park to build a larger area for the dolphins. Along with an already dwindling cash flow, management decided to close the park in the 90s. Now it's time for the day's best pick. So if you find something creepy online and want to know more about it, just send it on over to us and we'll look into it for you. Who knows, might even feature in a future video. Number 1. Okpo Land, South Korea. Okpo Land was once one of Asia's most famous amusement parks, but in May 1999 it closed overnight, becoming an abandoned eyesore, decaying in the hills overlooking the nearby city. Located on the outskirts of Okpo on Jeoju Island in South Korea, Okpo Land was hugely popular with families right up until its closure in questionable circumstances. It attracted visitors from Asia and beyond, a beneficiary of South Korea's expanding tourism industry following the 1988 Olympic Games in Seoul. The duck-themed ride, which was one of the main attractions in the park, is known to have caused at least one fatality in the early 1990s. A train derailed and fell onto the ground, killing one and injuring several others. The ride lived on and no compensation or apology was received, giving rise to rumors about the owner paying off local officials. In 1999, the ride claimed its second life. Again, one of the trains derailed and capsized, causing the death of a young girl. Following the incident, the park's owner vanished overnight, and Okpo Land was closed immediately and indefinitely. Which haunted amusement park creeped you out the most? Let us know down below in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out the channel's other amazing content. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Later, everybody.